students, and welcome to today's live IELTS class. My name is Adrian, and I'm streaming to you from Central Europe. I hope everybody is having a good weekend so far, staying healthy, staying strong. Hi, Kyber. Hi, Tonwisi. Hi, Mehwish, Nandini, Tamunish. Good to see many students in the class. Welcome, members. Bekjan. Good to have you all aboard. Students, this lesson is a speaking interview part 3, and we are going to discuss how to respond to tricky or more difficult questions, what kind of strategies to use to help you get through the interview and maximize your band score. This lesson is brought to you by aehelp.com, that's academicenglishhelp.com, as well as gieltshelp.com for improvements on your exam. Please visit us on our websites, join our full course, and get access to all of our videos in HD format, as well as interactive practice tests and courses. Our websites, they look like this. This is aehelp.com with the blue background. You can click that big red button to join. You can also practice your English with other IELTS students for free on the website in a Skype or WhatsApp style format. For general IELTS, you can use this website here, gieltshelp.com. Click that big red button. Again, in your My Student account, you can find other students to practice your English for free, as well as professional help with native speakers for writing and speaking as well. And if you have questions about any of our products, please just send me an email to adrian@aehelp.com, and I will happily answer your questions. I'm Anjot. I'm doing fantastic. Thank you for asking. Okay, students, so this class concludes this week of the live streaming, and next week I will start up on Wednesday with speaking part 1. We'll have a full week of sessions, so make sure to attend for that. And of course, I wish the best to all of the students taking their exams on the next couple of, or in the next couple of days. Let's get into talking about speaking part 3. So speaking part 3, it's the most challenging part of the interview in the sense that it has the most complex language potentially in the questions. And of course, it's testing for the highest bands, band 7, 8, and 9. Okay, so students, how do you answer some tricky questions? Okay, first of all, you have to understand them clearly. All right, now what helps you to understand the questions in part 3? That's a question. Does anybody know? Hi, Eugen. Thanks for the emojis. I always love that little panda guy. All right, so what can help you to understand the questions in part 3 speaking? Okay, this is a very good question to answer or to know the answer for. Okay, so what can help you? The special one says think logically. Tamanish says listen to the question carefully, of course. Jamaluddin says vocabulary, certainly. Okay, those are some good ideas. All right. Rafa, very good. Not task 2, that's confusing with the writing, but part 2. Yeah, absolutely, Rafa. That's very clever. Okay, that's the first point that I want you to think about is part 2 helps a lot, 2 words, helps a lot to understand part 3 because part 3 are questions related to the topic of part 2. So if there's a difficult question where you're thinking, ooh, that's a tough one, I have no idea what they're asking me, keep in mind your part 2 questions, okay? And also keep in mind the introduction, okay? So as well, keep in mind the introduction to part 3. Sorry, a little bit crackly voice. Part 3. So That's not the mic, that's me. So here you can see the examiner says, let's talk about helping the planet. So whatever question the examiner is asking you after is connected in some way to helping the planet. Now, part 2 was probably about something similar, so helping the planet, saving the environment. So keep that in mind when you get confused. Be like, okay, he's asking me something about helping the planet. I just have to figure out what he or she is asking me. Okay, so keep that in mind. Also, pay careful attention to the nouns and verbs in the question. Okay, so really focus to catch the subject, the noun, the object, the noun, and the action verb in the question. Okay, that's very, very important. All right, so make sure to focus on the subject, noun, the object, noun, and the action, verb. Okay, as long as you catch those, you can probably figure out what the question is looking for. Okay, all right. So that will help you to understand the questions. What do you do if you don't understand the questions? Okay, that's also a very good piece of knowledge to have. So what can you do if you have no idea what the examiner is asking you? Which can happen because some of these questions, they're geared towards a band 9 level speaker. So it's quite possible that you might not catch one of the questions, even if you're a band 7. Okay, so Beckton says, ask them politely to repeat. Yeah, sure. It's worth a try, right? You never know if you don't try. Some examiners will repeat. Some examiners just go to the next question. But one way that you can try to figure that out is by simply asking them in a nice, polite way to repeat. So ask politely to repeat the question. Okay? Like this. And this is a speaking class, so definitely repeat and speak. Okay? When I say these, so practice saying this naturally. So I'm saying, I'm sorry, I didn't quite catch what you're asking. Could you please repeat the question? Or another way, just so I'm sure of what you're asking me, may I ask you to repeat the question? Okay, or ask the question again. So there are a few different ways that you can do this. Don't do this often, okay? Once, twice is okay, but please don't do it for every question. That's really bad. Then you will lose band scores. So only do this once or twice when you really have no idea of the question. What do you do? Okay, let me actually, there was another really good response there. I can't remember who put it up there, but that was good. Paraphrasing the question. Okay, so also you can paraphrase the question as we often understand once we do this. Okay, so what we mean by this is here you have this question like, what are everyday actions that people can do to help Mother Earth? Okay, so this one would be like, what are daily behaviors that can aid our planet, which people can do. Okay. So here, to make it even simpler, is just to be clear, you are asking me about what people can do to help our planet. Okay, so again, repeat after me. So imagine that the examiner says, okay, let's talk about helping the planet. What are everyday actions that people can do to help Mother Earth? And then you're kind of confused. So you say, just to be clear, you're asking me about what people can do to help our planet. And then the examiner will likely say something like, they can't repeat in this case, but what they'll say is something like, yes, exactly. So if you get this response for your paraphrasing, yes, exactly, you know you're on the right track. You know you're taking the right steps. You're thinking correctly. If you get a different response, if you get no, not quite, then you can still ask for them to repeat, okay? Then you can still say, oh, in this case, would you mind repeating the question? Okay, so you can still follow it with that. No, you cannot ask for a paraphrase. I've gotten that question a few times, Un. So Un is asking, can you ask? So this is an interesting question from a student. Can you ask the examiner to paraphrase the question? I mean, sure, you can ask, but they will say no. The examiner is not allowed to paraphrase part 3 questions. Okay, so the examiners have strict instructions that they are not allowed to paraphrase, because that's giving you a lot of extra help, and that doesn't make it fair for other students who might not have that. So the examiner is only allowed to repeat verbatim. That's why the examiners have these questions written down. They have to ask these questions exactly the way they are written on the paper, okay? Each word is carefully selected for them. So that's a good question. Okay, what do you do if you absolutely don't understand the question? All right, so in this case, what do you do? So you have no idea. Okay, you paraphrased it, you asked for a repeat, and still you're like, I have no idea what is going on here. Boomy says, just skip the cue. Yeah, never just answer any old answer, okay? That's the worst case situation, okay? Don't just talk about part 2 because if you're talking completely off topic, it's a double negative. Once, it's twice negative, I should say. Once it's negative because you're losing points for not answering the question. Twice it's negative because you're losing time from other questions that you can answer, okay? So in this case, ask to go to the next question, okay? But only do this if you have zero idea of the question, okay? Likely what will happen anyway, if you start talking completely off topic, very likely the examiner will just interrupt you with the next question anyway, okay? So in this case, say something like, I'm not clear on what you are asking. Could you please skip to the next question? Thank you. Okay. So examiners will appreciate that. It doesn't mean that you can't get a band 7 or can't get a band 8. Okay. You could still get a very high band score, especially if you're doing a really good job on the other questions. Okay. So yeah, it will affect your marks. So yes. Somebody's asking, will this affect my marks? Yes, of course. So yes, this will have a negative effect on your marks, but it is not as bad as if you speak off topic and lose time from other questions. Okay, so here you have to choose the lesser of two evils, and you just have to say, I'm sorry, I really don't get what you're asking me. Can we just please go to the next question? Okay, it's still better, all right? Okay, students, now a couple other important points. These are just a couple of tips, okay, for tricky questions. Use the question to help you answer, okay? Also, buy time to think of good answers. Okay, in a natural way. So if it's an interesting question or a difficult question, in a natural way, okay, say, that's an unusual question. I've never really thought about it. Would you allow me a moment, please? Okay. The examiners do not expect you to have the answers in your pocket ready to go. Of course, some of these part 3 questions demand a thinking time, and it's okay to take a few seconds to think. The examiners know when you're using time to think about your answer versus when you're using time to think about vocabulary or grammar. Okay? Yeah, Real Diamond, you can say, it's a tricky question. Can you give me a moment? Or that's a difficult question. I need a moment to think. Okay? So these kinds of strategies are absolutely okay. Also, a lot of students think that using things like or is bad, but it's not. Okay? These are called natural fillers. They are used in all languages to buy time to think. If you're using natural fillers to think of ideas instead of language, instead of vocabulary, you're not losing marks. If you're using and ah to think about words, yeah, you will lose marks for fluency, okay? But not if you're thinking of content, okay? You only lose marks for natural fillers when you are thinking of correct words and grammar, but not for information. Okay, we get these comments all the time on our videos like, I don't think this student deserves a band 8.5 or 9 because they're saying and all the time. But yeah, those students are doing that because they're thinking of content. They're not thinking of words, okay? Namisha, you basically can't use, if you're using too many natural fillers, then it's because you're not fluent enough with words and grammar. It's unlikely that it's because of the content, okay? The content shouldn't be that difficult. So here we go. All right, students, so keep all of these points in mind. Let's use the questions, let's use these expressions, and let's practice some speaking. So here we go with the first question of the day from Speaking Part 3. Let's talk about helping the planet. What are everyday actions that help that people can do to help Mother Earth? So what are everyday actions that people can do to help Mother Earth? All right. So Carolina says people can not only recycle the products that they buy every day, but also they can reduce the use of electricity in their homes. Just like me, I always turn off the lights in places that I'm not in. Okay, very good, Carolina. That's a nice answer. Yeah, that works. Lydia says, while conserving natural resources such as water, recycling, and reforestation, as well as considering the main actions that people are willing to do on a daily basis to save the planet and keep a long-term protection and stability of the Earth's climate. Okay, Lydia, you're off topic there because you're speaking about generally what can humanity do. This is what can people do in their everyday actions. So to answer accurately, it's really good to use the question, to paraphrase the question. So on a day-to-day basis, individuals so on a day-to-day basis, individuals can help save Earth by paying attention to recycling their garbage, as well as reducing the amount of energy that they use by turning off lights and not driving their cars unnecessarily. Okay. In fact, I only use my car for long trips. Otherwise, I commute by public transit. Okay, so here what I'm doing right away is I'm paraphrasing the question and I'm using the question to make sure that I'm staying focused on the exact question. Okay, so everyday actions. So on a day-to-day basis, individuals can help save Earth by paying attention to recycling their garbage, as well as reducing the amount of energy that they use by turning off lights and not driving their cars unnecessarily. In fact, I only use my car for long trips. Otherwise, I commute by public transit. So answer, explanation, example, use the question. Okay, stay on topic. Part 3, you have to really pay careful attention to the elements of the question. Okay. All right. Lucas says they are affecting nature considerably today, which is the reason why in some countries plastic straws are banned. My mother always totes a shopping bag in case she needs to go shopping. Okay, Lucas, did you have something before that? Yeah, you did. Well, I think people around the globe can curtail the amount of plastic bags that they consume when shopping by bringing shopping bags. In fact, plastic bags thrown away. Okay, Lucas, that's one way. Make sure to pay attention, Lucas, to the plurals. What are everyday actions? So one action is to use reusable bags for shopping, right? Fabric bags. Give at least one other way. Okay, so pay attention to plurals. So at least one more. All right. Shahataj says, well, I think cycling to work instead of using vehicles on a daily basis can help reduce carbon emissions and save our planet. Shahataj, that's a fantastic answer. Give one more. Pay attention to the plural in the question. Okay? Otherwise, that's good. Uzbek says, on a daily basis, people can help to keep the world sustainable by saving water and electricity. Okay, Uzbek, give me an example for that. All right. Matab says, yes, of course, there are so many daily routines we need to adopt in our daily life to help Mother Nature. For instance, we can carpool to work to reduce gas emissions. Also, use less plastic. Like me, I always take my metal water bottle to work instead of using or drinking from disposable water bottles. All right, good. So at least 2 when you see plural. Okay, so the next one here, follow-up question. And this is why it's important to say at least 2. Which of these should people pay special attention to? Okay, which of these should people pay special attention to? If you only said 1, it's kind of like, but I only said 1. So this is why you should say 2, okay, when they ask for more than 1. All right. Abdul Boria Saidazimov says, perhaps the most effective and paramount countermeasure for environmental problems is that people can contribute to the abridgment of garbage by selecting and recycling for repurposing. Okay, careful, Abdul, with choice of vocabulary. You can get really fancy, but by getting really fancy with vocabulary, you can also lose meaning. So don't overdo it. Okay, don't overdo it. So careful. Abridgment of garbage, little bit out of context for abridgment. Okay. All right. Carolina says, from my point of view, individuals should pay close attention to the packaging of products that they buy, if they are biodegradable or not. People should reduce the use of plastics as much as possible. Okay, very good. Nigaiman says, in my opinion, reducing consumption of plastic is the most effective solution to preserve the environment. My mother always reuses plastic bags and prefers to use fabric bags instead. Yeah, very good, Hun. Okay, so a lot of people saying plastic. There is no correct answer. Okay, so the examiner is not judging your answer. They just need a believable answer. Raghav says, in my view, people should pay special attention to using public transit and recycling garbage, as by doing this, we can reduce the amount of pollution. Okay, special attention to usually means pick 1. It's easier for you as well. Okay, so in my opinion, of paramount importance is reducing the amount of waste per individual by paying attention to reusing and reducing garbage at home. By this, I mean people should not buy single-use items such as plastic straws and cups, but instead they should have reusable coffee mugs. I always make sure to take a thermos with me to work so that I can play my part in reducing hazardous waste. All right. So here we go. Which of these should people pay special attention to? In my opinion, of paramount importance is reducing the amount of waste per individual by paying attention to reusing and reducing garbage at home. By this, I mean people should not buy single-use items such as plastic straws and cups, but instead they should have reusable coffee mugs. I always make sure to take a thermos with me to work so that I can play my part in reducing hazardous waste. Okay. Kind of a missing word there. Okay, so that's the follow-up question. Again, answer, explain, example. This is speaking, students, so make sure to speak. Typing is good, but make sure to speak as well. All right, let's keep rolling along. Keep in mind the tips that I've given you for solving and answering these trickier questions accurately. Here we go with the next question. Why is it important for individuals to give their time freely to help nature? Whoa, okay. Getting a little bit fancier for sure. More philosophical, more of a thinker. Let's see what you've come up with. So, why is it important for individuals to give their time freely to help nature? What could that be? So Lydia says spending time in nature boosts happiness and well-being. It'll improve people physically and mentally when they volunteer for nature conversation. Thereby, I started to allocate time for giving awareness and educating children to help them understand the importance and value of our natural resources. Okay, good, Lydia. Lydia, take your answer, your direct answer, and put it at the beginning. It'll be better, okay? So when people volunteer for nature conversation, when people volunteer for nature conservation, it will boost their happiness and well-being. It will improve them both physically and mentally. Thereby, I started. So the word volunteer, Lydia, is really nice. Put that at the beginning of your answer. Okay. Otherwise, fantastic. Okay, Peya Basak says it's essential for people to spend time freely to support the environment as nature holds us and deterioration of the environment will eventually destroy our preferred habits by turning our surroundings toxic. Very good, Peya. Nice explanation. Okay, I liked it. Quang An Nguyen says reducing the use of plastic bags as much as possible is very important. Otherwise, decreasing the number of transportation in order to release smoke from motorbikes and cars to keep the atmosphere clean. Quang, that's good. That would be for the very first question that we asked, right? The follow-up question, you want to specify one answer there, okay? Amanjot says, well, in nature where we live, work, and do our daily activities, if one doesn't have a little time for nature, then definitely one day natural resources will cease. So we have to give our time without expecting money in return so that we may enjoy the future, right? So finish the idea. Finish the idea, Manjat, right? Okay, very good. So, okay, there we go. So the special one says, I don't have any idea. Could you please skip to the next question? Thank you. All right, and that's exactly, so I'm a little bit surprised that nobody said, okay, that's an interesting question that I haven't really thought much about. Would you mind giving me a moment? Well, I suppose it is crucial that every citizen volunteers to preserve and clean up our environment so that we have a future for ourselves and our children. There is so much garbage and pollution in the world that if all people expect some compensation, the world will end in disaster. All right. So look, it took me quite a bit of time to actually come up with the perfect answer. But I did eventually by buying myself a ton of time with some expressions. So look at what I did here. So here's the question. Why is it important for individuals to give their time freely to help nature? That's an interesting question that I haven't really thought much about. Would you mind giving me a moment? Well, I suppose it's crucial that every citizen volunteer to preserve and clean up our environment so that we have a future for ourselves and our children. And then I realized that, wait a second, there's a lot of pollution in the world. So we definitely have to give our time freely because there isn't enough money in the world to pay for all of the cleanup that people have to do in order to maintain, sustain, and save our planet. So there's so much garbage and pollution in the world that if all people expect some compensation, the world will end in disaster. So if all of those aid workers and charities all wanted big money to go clean up garbage, it'd be a problem, no question about it. Okay, so what are the best ways to do this? Meaning, what are the best ways to volunteer your time? Okay, it's a follow-up question. So when you're asked this follow-up question, then make sure to think about the previous question, right? So what are the best ways to do this? What are the best ways to volunteer your time? Okay. All right. So Lucas says, that's an interesting question. I think the best and most efficient way to do this is by organizing a group of volunteers who are willing to help. Okay, and how, Lucas? How should they help? So keep thinking. It's good. You're buying some time. Keep thinking. Satisfying Time says cooperating with the government and accusations to globalize forestation, as well as raising community awareness for the overall ecosystem, is, I think, the most efficient way to donate one's time. Okay. Hi, Upendra. In Nepal. All right. Carolina says it's essential for individuals to do volunteer work. Not only can this activity help them to feel satisfied and happy, but also helps nature to stay clean from pollution. I volunteer to pick up garbage on the beach near my home. Oh, good, Carolina. I like how you're using your correlative conjunctions. Careful, Carolina, with your grammar a little bit. Okay, so a little bit of attention to grammar. I think the best way for people to give their time is to plant as many trees as they can and always pick up garbage that they see on the street. In this way, they both decrease pollution and increase oxygen production and the restoration of green spaces. I spent an entire summer planting trees in British Columbia, and after 4 months, I had planted over 60,000 All right, they were little trees, about this big. Okay, and it's 4 months of hard work. That was back in my teenage years when I was 18. In case you're wondering, that's a true story. Here we go. So, what are the best ways to do this? I think the best way for people to give their time is to plant as many trees as they can and always pick up garbage that they see on the street. In this way, they both decrease pollution and increase oxygen production and the restoration of green spaces. I spent an entire summer planting trees in British Columbia, and after 4 months, I'd planted over 60,000 of them. That was, well, those trees are pretty big now. They're about 22 years old. Hopefully most of them survived. All right, British Columbia has a so there's a lot of reforestation. But I didn't do it for free. I'll be honest about that part. I didn't do it for free. It was for money. It was pretty good money as well. So it was hard work, but good money. It wasn't for free. But the examiner doesn't have to know that. Okay, don't tell him. Don't tell her. All right. Okay. Okay, so here we go. Next question. Let's keep rocking and rolling, okay? If I didn't catch your response, no worries. I'll try to get different ones at different times, okay? All right. Here we go. Can you think of any charities which main goals are to help the planet? Okay. Give me a nice full sentence answer for this one. So can you think of any charities which main goals are to help the planet? All right. Wow, a lot of you are really fast. You need no time to think about this. I'm really happy to read that. Okay. All right. So Satisfying Time says, yeah, lately I read about an organization called World Nature Organization, WNO for short, led by Leonardo DiCaprio, the famous actor, which started in 2012 in order to protect our blue planet. Very good, Satisfying Time. So World Nature Organization. All right, excellent. Lydia says, Friends of the Earth and Ocean Conservancy are the best environmental charities to donate to for a better world. Both are based in the U.S. They are committed to conservation and improvement of the environment by providing plenty of information services on environmental problems and their solutions. Really nice, Lydia. It sounds like you're quite involved and familiar with these charities. I'm happy to read that. Okay. Nagaeman says, oh, that's a tough question. The only charity organization that comes to mind is We Save, which is my local volunteering organization. They always clean up polluted rivers in my neighborhood. Very nice, Nagaim. I like that answer. And I like how you bought some time. It's a really good answer, Nagaim. Okay. Amanjot says, well, there are a lot of charities that are for nature preservation, including World Sustainable Development Summit, Agency for Non-Conventional Energy, and rural agencies. Okay, very good, Amanjot. I'm still missing some of the ones that have come to my mind, interestingly. Okay, Raghav says the United Nations Environmental Program, and Tamanish says Team Trees. Students, put that into a sentence. So a couple of charities that come to mind are the United Nations Environment Program and Team Trees that are very active in reforestation and planting trees back in nature. Okay, good. Okay, Pea says, one volunteering organization that comes to mind is Greenpeace, BD, which works diligently to save nature by planting trees as well as picking up garbage. Yeah, I'm surprised I didn't see Greenpeace a little bit earlier. Bekjan says, yes, recently I came across an organization named Green Space, which deals with planting more trees by recruiting people from all over the world, and I saw it on YouTube ads. I donated about $2 to this charity. Very good, Bekjan. I don't know if you're just making that up, but it sounds believable, so I'll take it. Lawrence Barjami says, in my country, Albania, we have an NGO that aims at implementing projects financed by the EU in order to improve the quality of the environment by changing the face of the place and turning it into beautiful green space. Lawrence, what is the name of the NGO? Okay, what is the name of it? Give the name. So, two of the biggest charities that come to mind immediately are the World Wildlife Federation, WWF, as it is commonly abbreviated, and is symbolized by the panda. The other, of course, is Greenpeace. Both of these charities have been around for quite some time. They are global and very adamant about protecting the environment. Each year, I donate about $50 to both. All right. So, adamant. Okay, there we go. So here's my answer. Those are the two that came to my mind. Can you think of any charities which main goals are to help the planet? Two of the biggest charities that come to mind immediately are the World Wildlife Federation, WWF, as it is commonly abbreviated, and is symbolized by the panda. The other, of course, is Greenpeace. Both of these charities have been around for quite some time. Notice how I'm forcing that present perfect in there as well. So have been around for quite some time. They're global and very adamant about protecting the environment. Okay, adamant here means that they're really focused and energetic about doing this. Okay, so they're very motivated. Okay, all right. Next question, follow-up. What can people do to help these organizations be more successful? So what can people do to help? Yeah, passionate, Rajveer, absolutely, adamant. So what can people do to help these organizations be more successful? Okay, Shahataj, our member, says, well, people can most definitely volunteer to be a part of such charities and also help monetarily by making donations. People can also help in raising funds by creating awareness at their workplace. Very nice answer, Shahataj. So volunteering, donating, and raising awareness, all nicely explained. Good job. Okay. Roshni Kunte says, well, citizens and individuals can donate money to these organizations, such as WWF, so they can successfully achieve their goals and help to improve the planet. Very nice. Okay, so you gave one of the three that was given previously, but it works. Okay, you don't need more than one here. Satisfying Time says, as I mentioned earlier, volunteering and donating is fundamental to keep these organizations up and working. However, people can help by advertising them as well, as helping to locate areas where they can invest their efforts. Something like that. I didn't catch where the end of that was, but they're very good, okay? Rajveer says, individuals can not only volunteer their time, but also fund them. They should spread awareness about such organizations and persuade their friends and coworkers to be part of such positive initiatives. Yeah, very good, Rajveer. Very nice. Okay, so, well, as we have been discussing, people, you can also use that as a noun here. Contributors can not only give their time, but also their money to help these charities grow and attain their goals above and beyond such action. People can also spread awareness through word of mouth, which is very powerful to convince friends and family. Okay? This is the reason I always post cute baby elephant pictures on social media with the WWF logo. Okay, so here we go. What can people do? And I'm reading this again so that you can speak and repeat. So here we go from the top. What can people do to help these organizations be more successful? Well, as we have been discussing, contributors can not only give their time, but also their money to help these charities grow and attain their goals. Above and beyond such action, people can also spread awareness through word of mouth, which is very powerful to convince friends and family. This is the reason I always post cute baby elephant pictures on social media with the WWF logo. All right, students, fantastic job today. Keep in mind these important tips and tricks that I showed you at the beginning to buy time, use the question, paraphrase, ask for repeats. If you have no idea, skip to the next question, okay? And remember part 2 and the introduction to part 3. When you're really stuck, perhaps you will be able to figure out what the question is, even if you didn't think so at first, okay? That's it for today's lesson. A fantastic job by everyone today. Lots of great answers. Keep it up. Make sure to speak, okay? Lots of speaking practice available on our websites, aehelp.com, glshelp.com. Join our premium packages there. You won't be disappointed. People are very satisfied once they do, and they do improve their band scores as well. You're very welcome, Begjan. Good job, Rajveer, today in both classes. You're welcome, Violet. Nice to see you, Carolina. In the class, thank you for the emojis, Eugen. I'm Adrian, signing out for now from Budapest. I will be back on Wednesday at the same time with Speaking Part 1. Take care, stay healthy.